Imagine two realities with the same Airbnb, except in one of those realities, I'm managing it, and in another, it's being managed by a generic Airbnb property manager. Well, this experiment I'm actually running right now with my newest Airbnb property. And I'm going to share with you how on my first booking, I'm getting nearly double the rate. And what I did, what 4 changes I made to the Airbnb, nothing major. I'm not knocking down any walls. If you're new to this channel, it's all about providing tips to Airbnb hosts who have up to 15 Airbnb properties. My first experience with Airbnb was way back in 2012 as a guest booking for a group of friends in Santa Barbara, California. And today I'm recording this video in an Airbnb in Medellin, Colombia. The first area is amenities. I place amenities in a special part in your Airbnb career because it's one of those areas where you have control. And I say control what's within your control because not everything is. So I'm going to go over 3 things I added to amenities. The first is a 100-inch TV. Now, the reason why I added a 100-inch TV is because the price difference between a 60, 70, 80, 100-inch TV isn't that much. I know that TVs are going to last 5, 6, 7 years, so the incremental value really is minuscule. And I also know for my market, almost no Airbnbs have such a big TV. And we are trying as hosts to differentiate ourselves visually before the guest makes the booking from our competition at every step of the way. The second thing I did, which I can't fully take credit for, it was a recommendation that I heard from someone else, and immediately when I heard it, I thought, bingo, that makes a lot of sense. And it's 2 adjustable monitors for an office space. As I was going through Airbnb as my competition, I noticed that almost, again, no one had this amenity. In another video, I titled Wacky Amenities and how I go over an ROI, return of investment, you can get on different kind of extravagant amenities like private golf course, bowling alley, recording studio. I go over my process, and one of the main things is if less than 10% of your competition of your market has this amenity, it's probably a good idea to add it. It's probably going to net you a good ROI. Now, the third amenity I added that I'm going to go over in this video is some surprise and delight features. Now, surprise and delight features I go over in other videos, but as a quick summary, it's something that you're not going to advertise in your Airbnb listing, but it's something in fact, when the guest arrives to the Airbnb, they're going to be surprised and delighted, extra touches. So I added a floating globe, which I personally think is awesome. And I also just bought, I'll report on this when I get it, a block of wood that connects to the Wi-Fi just by tapping it, Android and iPhone. Number 2 is hospitality. I buy existing Airbnbs. That for me makes sense. So I look at the existing revenue number and then I add on to that 10%, 20, 30, even sometimes 40% based on various things that I can improve in the listing. For every 0.1, I can increase 5% revenue just by increasing the rating. So in this particular listing, it was a 4.7. I know that I can get a 4.9 or maybe a 5.0. My current listing in the same city has a 4.99. So I can increase the revenue of this listing just by increasing the rating from the 4.7 to a 5. How do I do that? That's with hospitality. A few things I added to this listing is daily cleaning, 1 breakfast included, and a free airport ride with 4 or more days booked. Even at the recording of this video, I've already stopped providing all 3 of these services, and I'm only providing a car if you book 7 or more nights, because those are really only for the first Airbnb guests where I really want to get 5-star reviews, lots of words, overly happy guests, and ideally they return, which is a hack which I wasn't planning on going over, but it makes sense. On Airbnb's Insights dashboard, one of the metrics they have is returning guests. The reason why they have that is because if you're an Airbnb where guests return, they know that a lot of hosts get that guest's contact details, and now that guest books outside of the platform because the host already has some comfort with that guest. So Airbnb has been clever, and they said, hey, we're going to give you a boost in your ranking if you have repeat guests. And here's the great thing about that, is almost no hosts have repeat guests. So if you have 1 or 2 repeat guests every year, you're already a standard deviation above your competition and giving yourself extra points in Airbnb's ranking algorithm. Now, the other bonus is if you have a repeat guest, the chance of that guest, number 1, leaving a review, only 70% of guests leave a review, and number 2, leaving a 5-star review is astronomical. It's almost guaranteed. So I would recommend to you as host, some of your repeating guests, you should have actually book on Airbnb, maybe a few of them that just come for one night. Get that review, get that 5-star review, get that metric in Airbnb, rank high, and everything is good. Now, the other thing I added for my specific market is an English-speaking concierge, English fluent. This is a Spanish-speaking country. A lot of my guests don't speak Spanish, and so I wanted to bridge that gap without entering myself into the mix, because one of my key strategies is separating yourself as the host from your property so you're not running a full-time business and have to be on your phone ready to answer any message at all times. So I put a concierge in between me and the guest, and in this case, an English-speaking concierge, and I do pay them. Number 3, listing optimization. Remember, number 2, I talked about how I'm going to boost up the revenue 15% just by going from a 4.7 to near a 5.0. Well, with listing optimization, with all of my strategies, this channel is all about how to optimize your online Airbnb listing. That gives me plus 15%. So if that listing was making $100,000 and it's just an average looking listing like most listings are, and you apply my listing optimization principles, you're going to be making $115,000 just by doing that, taking 45 minutes to optimize the listing so that it looks attractive for your FPGs. Basically, I switched up everything with this listing because it was so bare bones and so basic, and the photos haven't been changed for 6 years. I redid the photo layout of tremendous importance. I retook a bunch of the photos. I'm still taking those photos. If you want to follow along, I'll place a link in the description here, and you can save me to your wish list and keep track of all the changes I'm making. I added photo captions. You'll notice with the photos, I'm starting to add in words to the actual photo so the guest doesn't even have to read the photo caption. You'll notice that they had 26 photos versus my 21, and I'm even going to get that 21 down to 16 or 17 when I'm done optimizing the listing. You'll see their block text versus my optimized text. I'm releasing, by the way, if it's not already released by the time this video goes live, an Airbnb summary text generator for free. Link in the description. I'll just say that text is the most important aspect of your listing. And that's because when a guest actually is reading the text, they're just so close to making that booking. They just want some more information. Why else would they be reading? So you got to make your text optimized, and you got to excite the guest and separate yourself from the competition with really easily digestible value. Here's the price I'm paying. What value are you giving me? How fast is your Wi-Fi? Do you do luggage storage? Do you provide an airport ride or free breakfast or an English concierge or Netflix or a office space or whatever you have? Put it there. Most important to still important, but less important in that summary text. No more than about 8 points. As we continue with listing optimization, these are so big. These are probably the biggest and the easiest things to do. The property manager didn't select TV or kitchen on the listing or third bathroom. They had it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. I mean, this is a sin. These are literally buttons to be checked, and the property manager didn't do that. Shame on them, and shame on any property manager who is not optimizing the listing more than once every 6 years. But as a buyer, this is what I do. If I'm going to run an Airbnb, for me, it makes sense. Let's buy an existing, poorly managed Airbnb. I clicked 3 buttons, and I probably increased my revenue 20%, because at this level, selecting kitchen is somewhat common. Selecting 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms is somewhat common. Selecting TV, less common, but still somewhat common, especially in a market where there's thousands and thousands of listings and are really competitive. Before I move on to the 4th and final thing I did to double the nightly rate of this Airbnb listing, I want to know how you're enjoying this video. And if you want me to make more videos diving into everything I did to this listing to double the nightly rate. If you do, share this video. If the shares get above 3%, then that'll be your way to communicate to me that, hey, yeah, I'm enjoying this video. I want you to make more content, similar content. Number 4 is pricing. And pricing is so important because it has the potential to increase the revenue of your listing the most, up to double. So remember, if we're making 100,000 in that example, this listing has a potential of 200,000. The last listing, called the Belmonte Penthouse, I've documented on this channel with a few videos. That host was making 45,000. property manager, excuse me. I'm making over $150,000 with the same exact property. Most of that comes from applying my pricing strategy. It's a two-part strategy. This video isn't about pricing specifically, but the good news is I have a playlist all dedicated to Price Labs videos, which is the dynamic pricing tool that I recommend. It is worth your time to learn how to price because of how much it can give you back, because of the ROI, and because so few hosts know what they're doing. Learning how to price keeps you nearly 100% occupied, even in slow season. But you're gonna have to adjust your prices double or more. If in busy season you're charging $250, in low season you're probably around $100, $125. In this video, you have learned the 4 leverage points that I have applied to my last Airbnb to double the nightly rate. I hope that 1 or 2 you can apply to your Airbnb, or if you're buying a new Airbnb, you can look to see if the current listing has any improvement areas and how much that might increase the revenue. Before I let you go, I'm gonna put up a couple videos that I would like you to watch next. Until next time, happy hosting.